Whitney Elizabeth Houston was born on August 9, 1963 in Newark, New Jersey, into a family that was practically American gospel royalty. Her mother, Emily "Sissy" Houston, was a two-time Grammy-winning powerhouse who had sung backup for Aretha Franklin, Elvis Presley, and Dionne Warwick. Her father, John Russell Houston Jr., was a theatrical-turned-city administrator with a booming voice and a volatile temper. Whitney's first cousins were Dionne and Dee Dee Warwick. Darlene Love was a family friend who babysat her. Aretha Franklin was her honorary aunt. The Houstons lived in a middle-class neighborhood in East Orange, but by the late 1960s, Newark was burning from riots, and the family moved to a safer part of town. Whitney's earliest memories were of church, New Hope Baptist Church, where Sissy directed the choir. At age 11, Whitney stepped forward during a Wednesday night service to sing the hymn "Guide Me, O Thou Great Jehovah." The congregation rose to its feet, some wept. Sissy later said she knew in that moment that her youngest child had been given the gift. At home, life was less serene. John Houston was a domineering figure who managed Sissy's career and later his daughter's, often with an iron fist. Money was tight, egos were large, and arguments were loud. Whitney learned early to stay quiet and sing louder. By 15, Whitney was 58, honey-skinned, with cheekbones that could cut glass. She began modeling for 17 and Glamour while still attending Mount St. Dominic Academy, a Catholic girls' school in Caldwell. She also sang background on albums by Chaka Khan, I'm Every Woman, Lou Rawls, and her mother's group, The Sweet Inspirations. Clive Davis, the legendary president of Arista Records, first saw her in 1983 at a small Manhattan nightclub called Michael. She was 19, wearing a simple white dress, singing Home from The Wiz. Davis later said he felt the hairs on his neck stand up. He signed her that night to the richest rookie contract in history up to that point, a $6 million multi-album deal. Whitney spent the next 2 years in the studio with producers Narada Michael Walden, Kashif, Michael Masser, and Jermaine Jackson, with whom she had a brief romance. She wanted to prove she was more than a pretty face with a famous mother. Whitney Houston was released on Valentine's Day 1985. It was polished, radio-friendly R&B pop with gospel lungs. You Give Good Love and Saving All My Love for You went to number 1. How Will I Know, produced by Walden with a bubblegum synth hook, and Greatest Love of All followed. The album spent 14 weeks atop the Billboard 200, sold 13 million copies in the US alone, and made her the first female artist ever to debut at number 1. Whitney became the first black woman to grace the cover of 17 magazine in March 1986. She toured arenas with Luther Vandross and Jeffrey Osborne. Critics called her the prom queen of soul, a backhanded compliment that stung. She was 22, polite to a fault, and terrified of failing. Whitney Houston, 1987, was even bigger. 7 consecutive number 1 singles, a record that still stands. I Wanna Dance with Somebody Who Loves Me became her signature anthem. She won her first Grammy in 1986 for Saving All My Love, but the televised awards shows routinely placed her in the R&B categories while white pop acts won the big prizes. She smiled through it. By 1990, the perfection was wearing thin. Critics accused her of being too safe. I'm Your Baby Tonight 1990 added new jack swing and hip-hop flavors courtesy of producers L.A. Reid and Babyface. The title track and All the Man That I Need were massive, but the album sold only 10 million copies. Then came The Bodyguard. Whitney was cast opposite Kevin Costner in the 1992 film after a dozen other actresses turned it down. She was initially reluctant, she had never acted, but the soundtrack became her mission. She recorded 6 new songs including Dolly Parton's I Will Always Love You. The cappella opening stopped the world. The single spent 14 weeks at number 1, the longest reign in Hot 100 history at the time. The Bodyguard soundtrack became the best-selling soundtrack of all time, 45 million worldwide, and the best-selling album by a woman in history until Adele. At the 1994 Grammys, she won Album of the Year, Record of the Year, and Best Pop Vocal Performance, sweeping the major categories for the first time as a black woman. She closed the show with a 10-minute I Will Always Love You, I Loves You Porgy, and I Am Telling You I'm Not Going medley that left Diana Ross, Barbra Streisand, and Liza Minnelli in tears backstage. On July 18, 1992, Whitney married New Edition singer Bobby Brown in a lavish ceremony at her Mendham, New Jersey estate. The marriage was passionate, volatile, and tabloid catnip. Bobby had a criminal record, a reputation for womanizing, and a crack habit. Whitney claimed she married him because he made her laugh and because he didn't care who my mother was. Their daughter, Bobby Christina Brown, was born March 4, 1993. Waiting to Exhale 1995, and The Preacher's Wife 1996 soundtracks kept her on top. The latter gave her the biggest gospel hit of all time, I Believe in You and Me. But privately she was using marijuana laced with cocaine, what insiders called baseball because of the way it was smoked in a pipe. She missed rehearsals, showed up hours late to film sets, and began canceling concerts. After 7 years without a proper studio album, My Love Is Your Love 1998 was a creative triumph. Rodney Jerkins, Missy Elliott, Wyclef Jean, and Lauryn Hill all contributed. It's Not Right But It's Okay, Heartbreak Hotel, and My Love Is Your Love were huge. She headlined HBO's Divas Live with Aretha, Celine, Shania, and Mariah Carey, and famously ad-libbed her way through a shaky performance into something transcendent. But the drugs were winning. She was fired from the 2000 Academy Awards performance after refusing to sing the arranged medley. She showed up to a Michael Jackson 30th anniversary concert so thin and jittery that Jackson's mother Catherine reportedly cried. In 2001, she signed a $100 million contract with Arista, the largest recording contract in history, but the album that followed, Just Whitney 2002, was a commercial disappointment. In a 2002 primetime interview with Diane Sawyer, Whitney uttered the immortal line, "Crack is whack," while insisting she was only using the expensive stuff. The interview became cultural shorthand for denial. Bobby Brown's reality show Being Bobby Brown 2005 exposed the chaos: screaming matches, police visits, Whitney cleaning cocaine residue off a counter with her fingernail. She entered rehab multiple times but always relapsed. Her final studio album, I Look to You 2009, was meant to be the comeback. The title track, written by R. Kelly, was gorgeous. The voice was still there, just lower and huskier. Clive Davis threw a legendary pre-release party attended by everyone from Aretha to Alicia Keys. The album debuted at #1, but Whitney's live performances were disastrous: cracked notes, forgotten lyrics, audiences walking out in Sydney and London. In 2010, she began what was billed as the Nothing But Love World Tour. It was heartbreaking. Reviews called her voice a ghost. She canceled shows, checked in and out of rehab, and lost millions. On February 11, 2012, Whitney was in Beverly Hills preparing to attend Clive Davis's annual pre-Grammy party at the Beverly Hilton. That afternoon, she was found submerged in a bathtub, dead at age 48. The coroner ruled it accidental drowning, with heart disease and cocaine use as contributing factors. Traces of cocaine, marijuana, Xanax, Flexeril, and Benadryl were in her system. The world stopped. Her funeral at New Hope Baptist Church was televised worldwide. Kevin Costner gave a eulogy that made grown men weep. Stevie Wonder sang Ribbon in the Sky, rewritten for her. The choir sang I Will Always Love You as her silver casket was carried out. 3 years later, almost to the day, her daughter Bobby Christina was found unconscious in a bathtub and died after months in a coma at age 22. Whitney Houston sold over 220 million records worldwide. She has 6 Grammys, 22 American Music Awards, and 415 total career awards, the most of any female performer ever. She paved the way for Mariah, Beyoncé, Ariana, and every diva who followed. Her voice, soaring, pure, and unmistakably hers, remains the gold standard. When Adele, Lady Gaga, or Christina Aguilera is described as the voice of a generation, they are being measured against Whitney Elizabeth Houston. She once said, "I'm not a perfect person, I have my flaws, but when I open my mouth to sing, I'm perfect." And for one crystalline moment in time, the world believed her.